whilst the consciousness principle uses the nervous system as its instrument, with the intricate extensions of the organ of sensitivity, the spinal column. The objective of education should therefore be the training of the mechanism, to respond to the life of the soul. The higher self or soul is the sum total of the consciousness of the monad, again in time and space. The lower self or soul is, for our purposes, as much of that sum total as any one person in any one life can use and express. This activity is dependent upon the type and quality of the body nature, the mechanism produced by soul activity in other lives, and the effect of reaction to environing conditions. The increasing of soul awareness, the deepening of the flow of consciousness, and the development of an inner continuity of awareness, plus the evocation of soul attributes and aspects upon the physical plane through the medium of its triple mechanism, constitute the objective of all education. These aspects are, as you well know, 1. Will or purpose. This, through education, should be developed to the point where the manifested life is governed by conscious spiritual purpose, and the life tendency is correctly oriented towards reality. The right direction of the will should be one of the major concerns of all true educators. The will to good, the will to beauty, and the will to serve must be cultivated. 2. Love wisdom. This is essentially the unfolding of the consciousness of the whole. We call it group consciousness. Its first development is self-consciousness, which is the realization by the soul that, in the three worlds of human evolution, man is the three in one and one in three. He can therefore react to the associated groups of lives, which constitute his own little phenomenal appearance. Self-consciousness is, therefore, a stage on the way to group consciousness and is the consciousness of the immediate. Through education, this self-consciousness must be unfolded until the man recognizes that his consciousness is a corporate part of a greater whole. He blends then with the group interests, activities and objectives. They are eventually his and he becomes group conscious. This is love. It leads to wisdom, which is love in manifested activity. Self-interest becomes group interest. Such should be the major objective of all true educational endeavor. Love of self, self-consciousness, love of those around us, group consciousness, become eventually love of the whole, God consciousness. Such are the steps. 3. Active intelligence. This concerns the unfolding of the creative nature of the conscious, spiritual man. It takes place through right use of the mind, with its power to intuit ideas, to respond to impact, to translate, analyze, and to construct forms for revelation. Thus the soul of man creates. This creative process can be described, as far as its steps are concerned, as follows. A. The soul creates its physical body, its phenomenal appearance, its outer form. B. The soul creates, in time and space, in line with its desires. Thus the secondary world of phenomenal things comes into being, and our modern civilization is the result of this creative activity of the soul's desire nature, limited by form. Ponder on this. See, the soul creates through the direct agency of the lower mind, and hence the appearance of the world of symbols which fill our united lives with interest, concepts, ideas and beauty, through the written word, the spoken word, and the creative arts. These are the products of the thought of the thinkers of the race. The right direction of this already developed tendency is the aim of all true education. The nature of ideas, the modes of intuiting them, and the laws which should govern all creative work are its goals and objectives. Thus we come to the world of attributes which supplement the activity of the three aspects, in the same way that the three major rays are enhanced and aided by the work of the four minor rays. These four attributive unfoldments in man, through the activity of the soul in manifestation, are: 4. The attribute of harmony, produced through conflict. This leads to release, and to the eventual power to create. This is one of the attributes which education should deal with from the angle of the intuition, and should hold before its exponents as personality, and group objectives. It is the attribute latent in all forms and is that innate urge, or discontent which leads man to struggle, and progress and evolve in order finally to make atonement, and union with his soul. It is the lowest aspect of that higher spiritual, and monadic triad which reflects itself in the soul. It is the consciousness of harmony, and beauty which drives the human unit along the path of evolution to an eventual return to his emanating source. Education must work, therefore, with this dissatisfaction and interpret it to those who are taught, so that they can understand themselves and work intelligently. 5. The attribute of concrete knowledge whereby man is enabled to concretize his concepts and so build thought forms whereby he materializes his visions and his dreams and brings his ideas into being. This he does through the activity of the lower concrete mind. The true work of education is to train the lower man in right discrimination, and true sensitivity to the vision, so that he can build true to the purpose of his soul and produce upon the earth that which will be his contribution to the whole. It is right here that the work of modern education has to begin. Not yet can man work with intelligence in the world of ideas and of patterns. Not yet is he sensitive to the true spiritual values. This is the goal for the disciple, even though the masses cannot yet function on these levels. The first thing that must be done is to train the child in the correct use of the discriminating faculty, and in the power of choice and of directed purpose. He must be brought to a truer understanding of the underlying purpose of being, and be led to work with wisdom in the field of creative activity, which means, in the last analysis, in the right use of the mind stuff, the chitta of Patanjali. Thus and only thus, can he be released from the control of his lower nature. 6. The attribute of devotion is the next to be considered. Devotion grows out of and is the fruit of dissatisfaction, plus the use of the faculty of choice. According to the depths of a man's discontent, and of his power to see clearly, he passes from one point of temporary satisfaction to another, each time demonstrating his devotion to a desire, to a personality, to an ideal, and to a vision, until he finally unifies himself with the ideal which is the highest possible to man. This is, first of all, the soul, and then the oversoul or God. Educators are therefore faced with the opportunity of dealing intelligently with the innate idealism, to be found in any child, and with the interesting task of leading the youth of the world on from one realized goal to another. But this they must do in the future from the angle of the ultimate soul objective and not, as in the past, from the angle of a particular standard of national education. This is an important point, for it will mark the shift of attention from the non-essential to the essential. 7. Finally, the attribute of order, and the imposition of an established rhythm through the development of innate faculty to function under directed purpose and ritual. This particular attribute of divinity is now highly developed in one aspect, so that we have today much standardization of humanity, and the autocratic imposition of a ritualistic rhythm upon public life in a large number of countries. It can be seen to perfection in the life in our public schools, but it is an undesirable perfection. This is partly due to the recognition that the unit, or individual is only a part of a greater whole, a recognition which is much needed, and a part of the evolutionary unfoldment of the race. Owing, however, to our faulty application of any new truth, it means as yet the submergence of that unit in the group, leaving him little opportunity for the free play of the individual will, intelligence, purpose and soul technique. Educators will have to work with this principle of innate attribute and this instinct to ordered rhythm, making it more creatively constructive and so providing, through it, a field for the unfoldment of soul powers. I have digressed thus far so as to instill certain of the basic ideas, which should underlie the educational tendencies. These thoughts, coupled with those already given, constitute a statement of the objectives before the educators of the world which you would find it of value to consider. Earlier I suggested the goal. I now link that goal up with possibilities, for I have here touched upon the equipment, aspects and attributes, which is found, in some stage of development, in every human being. It is with these hidden traits and instincts that the future educational systems must work. They must not work, as they do today, with the brain apparatus, and with the lowest aspects of the mind. Nor must they lay their emphasis upon the effort to impress upon that brain and mind the facts, so called, of the evolutionary process and of physical plane investigation. The above remarks will serve to show you that the true educator should be working with energies in the world of energy. That these energies are tinged and qualified by distinctive divine attributes, and that each human being therefore can be regarded as an aggregate of energies, dominated by some one particular type of energy which serves to make him distinctive among his fellows, and which produces the differences among human beings. If it is true that there are 7 major types of energy qualifying all forms, and that these in their turn are subdivided into 49 types of qualified energy, the complexity of the problem emerges clearly. If it is true that all these distinctive energies play constantly upon energy substance, spirit matter, producing the myriad forms which make up the form of God, Bhagavad Gita, Sai, and that each child is the microcosmical representation, at some stage of development, of the macrocosm, the magnitude of the problem becomes evident, and the extent of our demanded service will call forth to the utmost the powers which any human being can express at any given moment in time and space. You will note that these words, in time and space, have repeatedly recurred in this instruction. Why is this? Because it must constantly be remembered that we are living in the world of illusion, an illusion which is temporary and transient and which will someday disappear, taking with it the illusion of appearance, the illusion of evolutionary unfoldment, the illusion of separativeness, and the illusion of distinctive identity, that illusion which makes us say, I am. The educator of the future will start his service to the child with the recognition of this ephemeral and transient misconception of the soul, and will deal primarily with the mind aspect, and not with the imposition of as much imparted organized knowledge concerning phenomenal existence as the memory of the child is capable of grasping. How can I illustrate this change attitude to you in the simplest form? Perhaps by pointing out that, whereas today parents and guardians of the child spend much of their time in answering or evading questions posed by the awakening consciousness of the child, in time to come the situation will be reversed. Parents will ceaselessly meet the demands of the emerging intelligence of the child by always inquiring of the child, why? Why ask this? Why is it thus? And so throwing always the responsibility of answering the questions upon the child, yet at the same time dropping the solution of the question subtly into the child's mind. This process will begin in the 5th